Good evening, and welcome to the June 12th, 2013 work session of Richmond Community Schools Board of School Trustees. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we will have the reading of our mission statement, please, by Dixie Robinson.
Mission or vision?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're the,
Aaron's the mission.
Aaron's the
mission
mission.
man.
You're the, all right.
The mission man.
Wrong person there. Aaron will do our mission.
Richmond Community Schools. We will graduate students who are literate, responsible, proficient in state and national standards, and college or career ready.
Thank you. And now Dixie will do our vision.
By 2020, Richmond Community Schools will be the highest performing school system in East Central Indiana.
Okay, that's what we're all about. Now we are ready for snapshots of success.
Under Snapshots of Success tonight, we're recognizing an individual with the President's Award. And the President's Award was begun several years ago to recognize outstanding contributions to the Richmond Community Schools, and it's at the prerogative of the President to issue this award. It's not done every single year, but if Mrs. Morgeson would like to go to the podium, I would like to call Sue Routson to the podium to join her.
Wheeling up there, Sue. I've never had
And we thank Mrs. Routson for being here tonight. She's gone over and above to get here.
I don't walk very well, but I'm walking better than you tonight. Sue, on behalf of the Richmond Community Schools Board of School Trustees, we want to present you with the President's Award tonight. You have been the director for Peer Information Center for Teens for 27 years, and you have provided much support to our students in Richmond Community Schools. So on behalf of the board, we thank you so much for your years and years of service.
Thank you very much.
Say a few words.
Well, I thank you for this award. I certainly wasn't expecting that. And please be assured that as a volunteer, I will be available so that by 2020, we can make the goal that kids have to be getting along okay socially and emotionally to achieve academically, and that's what Peer Helpers is about. And one of my own students is following me as director, which of course is every teacher's goal in life is to have one of their own. So I will be supporting them, and anytime you would like me to speak out on something, I'm in a position now that I can do it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments from board members? Pat?
I remember the first year when the Peer Information Center for Teens, because we were working with the Academy for Young Leaders at the time, and a number of them became the peer helpers, and how excited they were, and that was a real leadership gift that you did. Now, who is the director?
Her name is Tara Privet Legg, and
Okay.
she was trained in the year 2000, graduated in 2002. She's a local Richmond girl, and came and worked with me. She went to college, came back, worked with me for a while, then got married and left, had 2 kids. Came and worked in the preschool. Yeah, and came and worked in the preschool, which from her peer helper time there is probably why she got the job. So then she has come back now, and both her children are in school, and she has all the right gut instinct for this.
Good.
So I look for great things, and like I said, I will back them up. I'll sub, whatever they need. And I'm going to go do a lot more national training now. I'm a certified trainer and consultant for the National Association of Peer Program Professionals. And next Monday and Tuesday, in fact, I'm training people from as far away as Wisconsin in Indianapolis. So I hope to do a lot more of that. And if everything works out right, I'm going to be going to South Korea in the fall because they're having so much trouble with bullying and intimidation in their schools that they have asked the president of our association and someone who's recently been in the trench, which is me, to come over and train their key people from each school district to put peer helping in all their schools so
Nice.
they can nip this kind of behavior in the bud.
Well, Linda, they are a nationally recognized program here. I think we need to
Yes.
acknowledge and honor that.
Sounds like you're going to be keeping very busy.
Oh, yes, I think
Yes.
so.
Anyone else? Dixie?
I just wanted to thank you for all the support that you gave to the students in the program that I had. It was wonderful, and we appreciated that so much, and I know the kids did.
Yes, we really enjoy working with the alternative school kids. It's different, and it's very rewarding for the peer helpers. And also, their parents have also told me it changes their perspective on how put upon they are, and you know how mean their parents are, and all that sort of thing. So it's good all the way around.
Well, thanks again,
Thank
Sue,
you.
and best wishes to you. And we thank your husband
For bringing you.
for being here and wheeling you around wherever you need to go.
If he doesn't help me in this thing.
I understand.
Okay, we are now ready for our public hearing.
This is a public hearing concerning an amendment to our capital projects plan, and I will turn that over to Mr. Coddington to introduce the need for this and to help you through this process.
With the reusing of C.R. Richardson, I think everybody saw that last year when we closed the building, of course, in the CPF plan, we had no appropriation for C.R. Richardson renovation. We would take any emergency that would come and pay for it out of emergency maintenance. Now we've found ourselves, as we've talked about, in a position that we're going to put some money in C.R. Richardson, so we're asking for an amendment to the CPF plan. Now, last year, we asked for an additional appropriation. This year, we're asking for an amendment. And I'm sure Mr. Slifer will show you with the advertisement of the paper, he says, Bob, aren't those exactly the same numbers that we advertised last year and that the state's approved? And I would say, yes, that's right. But with that plan comes about 40 pages for each individual building. You've got this. So can we bring this up? That'll save me. So what we had to do within the buildings, because we put this plan together, we looked and said there are going to be monies we had appropriated that are not going to be used. You see at C.R. Richardson, the plan that was approved had zero appropriation. The bus garage, we had $100,000 worth of appropriation. We're putting C.R. Richardson, the amended plan says $225,000. The bus garage, we're going to do some work on the parking lot out there, but we're not going to do the extensive work that we thought. We'll have $45,000. At Crestdale, I put $103,000 in their plan in case there were any cost overruns. We've used 40 of it, but we took the money from there. So as you add those together, you can see that we have the same original plan of $409,000, the amended plan of $409,000 with that. So I wanted to make sure that everybody in the public knows we have an amended plan of what we're going to do with that $409,000. There'll be no increase in the tax rate, no change in the tax rate. It's just a plan to give us the authority that we will now petition the state to approve our amended plan of $225,000 for C.R. Richardson. Is there any questions from the board or the public in this public hearing? Thank you.
Okay, we now need to close the public hearing. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Aaron Stevens, seconded by Kelly Baumgartner. Comments or questions? All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We are now ready for our action items.
And the action items begin with a resolution to adopt the 2013-15 amended CPF plan as recommended and presented by Mr. Coddington.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So move.
Jeff Slifer makes the motion, seconded by Aaron Stevens. Comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And this approval gives the administration permission to publish the notice of adoption.
Yes,
Requested. Okay.
and petition to state for the approval.
All right. The next item we have has to do with leases at the for the use of the C.R. Richardson building. Mr. Coddington, we again turn to you to introduce this topic.
Thank you. We've been in these discussions. We've had much input from our renters, potential renters. And the following leases agreements have been submitted for your consideration and approval. Mr. Cross has reviewed the lease agreements and advised any revisions prior to this final document. Therefore, it is recommended that the board approve the request to accept the lease agreements in regards to the C.R. Richardson Building and the Young Men's Christian Association of Richmond and Goodwill Educational Initiatives as presented.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Pat Heine, seconded by Kelly Baumgartner. Comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor of the lease agreements signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Can we celebrate at this point?
Well, we have representatives here from both Excel and the YMCA. Would either one of you like to come forward and celebrate with us?
As the current board president of the local YMCA, I want to thank
Would you
Dr.
please
Borf.
identify yourself?
I'm Dan Myers.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
I'd like to thank Dr. Borf and the school board for this opportunity that you've presented to us, and remind you that the YMCA has been a part of the local community in serving the needs of the community for over 100 years. Part of those needs I see sitting around the table here in front of me, and I'm sure the people behind me have some association with the Y over the years. We've been a strong partner throughout the years. This opportunity comes at a very opportune time. We closed our downtown facility 6 years ago because of the building's condition. It was becoming uninhabitable, and we've been co-located with Reed Hospital's health center, rehab center on Chester Boulevard, and Reed has been very kind and gracious to us for this 6 years, but our agreement with them ended 4 years ago, and they were very gracious to allow us to do our due diligence in planning and locating, trying to locate another location or whatever we were going to do. And this opportunity popped up, and Dave Stidham and our current Y director, Kevin Carr, and the rest of our board said, boy, we can't pass this up. We've got to look at it. Ron Mays let us go through the building, and we determined that what an excellent opportunity to fit our needs with some minor changes. And we hope to become a good partner with the school system. Not that we haven't been over the years. Aaron was part of the Y. He was on our board at one time. He was also one of our participants as a younger man. I probably
Why are you trying to say?
coached against him at one time or another.
We won't go there.
But we are just so pleased to have this opportunity to continue our service to the community and to partner with the RCS. Kevin, you want to say something?
You will,
Kevin is our backbone.
Yes.
we probably need to let people know when you will be occupying the facility and,
He'll tell us.
okay, good.
I'm Kevin Carr, and I agree with Dan. Thank you. Oh, it's going to do a whole lot for our YMCA with you allowing us to go into that building and the program that we're going to be able to do to continue the work and enhance the work we do with the youth and the families in the community. So it's a big thanks, not just from me as the director of the Y or representative of the YMCA, but as a member of the community and one that chose to move back here to be a part of this thing. Our hope is that we'll be up and fully operating that thing by January 1, 2014, and being able to do the health and fitness that we do for our adult members and now our youth and family inside that building, but also with the green space that's outside to be able to really grow those youth programs, the youth sports and the after-school programs and the summer camp. So it's really exciting for us. That's made possible by you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron?
Well, first of all, Dan, thanks for those comments. Speaking of fixtures in this community, beside Dan being a board member, because he, when Ron and I were on the board, Dan was on the board, and he's been a fixture, and I think it goes to the point of the commitment that Dan, as well as the rest of the board members have, is to not only continuing the mission of the Richmond Family YMCA here in the community, but also furthering it. And having had the opportunity over the last few weeks of talking with neighbors in that area, the excitement that has been generated in an area that has often seemed to be overlooked, that near South Side area, with the YMCA going in there and XL going in there. There's an excitement that is generated right now amongst neighbors in that area that I think is going to lend to not only the programming that you're going to do, but also membership growth in there. And so I'm really excited about the vision of the shared mission between Richmond Community Schools and the Y and Excel, because I think it's going to be a great benefit for that area overall. So I personally say thank you, and I'm still involved with it, Tuesdays and Thursdays, lunch bunch basketball. So,
Yeah.
It's a good drop in.
Yeah.
11:30 if you're around.
Kelly?
I don't remember seeing anything about the pool. Will you have use of the Hibbard pool? Will you be using that at all as part of your program?
As part of our program right now, we I guess rent, for lack of a better word, from Family Fitness Works to use that pool for our
Okay.
summer camp and for some of the vacation camps that we do to make sure those kids get in.
Right.
But no plans right now.
Okay, anyone else? Well, thank you, and we look forward to this partnership.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I knew you would speak.
We have our signatures here. We're so excited. We have our pencils and our signatures here. I know you signed the lease after the board meeting, but is there a way we could sign our document the night before we go home? We like to go home and knowing that
She's
we
right.
signed, sealed, and delivered it.
We were doing
It doesn't get
so
away
well.
from us.
You might want to
Could we do that, please?
follow Pam.
I don't know that we've had such eager participants before, so thank you.
Well, it was nice working with Alan, Bob, and certainly Ron Cross. You could tell that Ron's an XY member, and that was a nice lease, and it came together rather easily. There's a lot of eyes on it, a lot of opinions, but with so many, it did happen very quickly. So we do appreciate you incorporate everything we asked for. Thank you.
thanks,
you.
Ben.
We also have a member from Excel.
Excel?
So, Erica? She is everywhere.
We accept it.
Well, that's wonderful. Welcome, Erica.
My name is Erica Haskins, and I'll be serving as the director of the Excel Center. And I'm even more excited than a month ago when I got to talk to you all. to become a part of the Richmond community and to call C.R. Richardson our home. You're gonna think that I'm joking that every day I visit Richmond to meet with someone in the community and just get to know people, that I drive by C.R. Richardson and if I gotta pick up trash that's laying in the grass, I do that, but just to look at that pretty school and just be really excited that we get to move in there. And just also to think of the opportunity we can now provide a group of students who haven't had options before, and what that could do for Richmond's local economy, and a lot of people, so.
Erica, could you kind of update us on what you have been doing?
I've been really busy in staffing, and a lot of talented individuals are coming to interview panels, and I am so lucky, and I sit back and say I am so blessed that so many committed community members are coming to the table and ready to serve in this capacity and donate their talents to my school. And it's fantastic. We're almost completely staffed. And so my shift is now to student recruitment. And so I'm doing a lot of apartment events, just getting a chance to talk to people who might know or need still their high school diploma or are struggling. So that's where my focus is shifting.
Erica, how can somebody who is watching, because we have a bully
Okay.
pulpit with this, how can they get a hold of you to make sure that they enroll?
I think that the easiest way is to visit online, www.excelcenter.org, and a student can start the enrollment process right there. So as long as they can get internet access or use a computer at a library, they can start their enrollment process.
While you're there, just for the listening audience, the age ranges that you're looking at.
We'd like to recruit students over the age of 18.
Has there been ongoing conversation with, like, Wayne County probation and our courts in regards to
You know what? That was something that Misty just pushed me in the direction of today, so I will be talking to them soon.
All right.
Yes.
Great. And this is not, I heard somebody said, well, don't we have GED? This is not a GED, this is a high school diploma program.
Correct. So we'll do, a student will complete all their credit requirements and the end of course assessments to earn a Core 40 diploma. And then we'll also jumpstart their post-secondary plans with an industry recognized certification or some dual credit offerings that we'll have in-house.
And that's huge for Richmond right now, huge.
Anybody else? Well, Erica, we are thrilled to get this lease approved and ready for you to take occupancy soon
I'm excited to be here.
and continue overseeing that building. Sounds like
Sounds good.
you're already doing a
It's
good
just
job.
It's our home. I gotta drive by it.
I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank you.
Our next action request is permission to advertise for a C.R. Richardson sprinkler system. Mr. Coddington.
Thank you, Dr. Boroff. Following with the CPF plan that's now been approved, we need to sprinkle that building because it is not going to be used as a K-12 building. So with that, and we know, because we got quotes to what that might cost, is over the $150,000 limit for quotes. So we're asking tonight for permission to advertise for the C.R. Richardson sprinkler system bid.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion made by Kelly Baumgardner, seconded by Dixie Robinson. Comments or questions?
The completion date is just by January 1st of 2014, right? I mean, it's not the original August 2nd schedule.
Oh, yes, it's July 1st, or, I'm sorry, January 1st.
January 1st,
It's a target date.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Our next item is a request for textbook adoption, and for language arts, and I turn to Mr. Millis to present this.
Thank you, Dr. Bohr. Before I make a recommendation, I'd like to mention that Richmond Community Schools presented today at the Indiana Urban Schools Conference, and Mrs. Morgeson, Dr. Bohr, Dr. Parker, and I presented in 2 sessions and discussed our journey, and would say that I thought we did pretty well and were well received. Which we kind of ended up with our discussion in terms of dealing with the mandates that the state has required from us, And one of those is that we have to adopt a SBRR program. As you're aware, we have been piloting Pearson in our reading program, and we had a committee work on that, and would want to recommend that we adopt Pearson Common Core Reading Street, the 2013 edition, and the fees are listed under the fees, but they average out to about $21 per grade level, K to 4. I think we've had a discussion on it. It was a healthy discussion. I think the Common Core edition and the updates, especially in writing, will assist us, and I think we're at a better place than we were when first year when we utilized the Opportunity School, and would make that recommendation.
Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Pat Heine, seconded by Aaron Stevens. Comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Are you going to ask for a separate approval for 5-8 and 9-12?
No, my understanding, we delayed in math. We did not ask for approval on that. It's just a report that we send in.
Okay.
So this component, because of the fees and the the mandate in reading, would ask the board for approval.
Okay. Then our next item for action that we're requesting tonight has to do with our Kelly Educational Agreement, and Mrs. Stewart will be presenting this request.
Included in your board packet was an agreement with Kelly Services to provide Richmond Community Schools with an internet-based teacher scheduling system available 24/7, as well as data analysis capabilities and reports, as well as customer service to our office for any manual intervention required. It's recommended that the board approve the services agreement effective June 1st, 2013 with Kelly Services.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Suzanne Darengowski, seconded by Kelly Baumgartner. Comments, questions? So I understand now that Kelly Services will be handling the computer part of the requests.
Right, they will. That part will be online exactly as it's done now. And the morning of an absence, there will be a phone number for subs to call to see if there are positions available. And there'll be an operator on Kelly's end who will call those last-minute absences. Should we need a sub later than first thing in the morning, those calls will come from us. We'll be in constant communication with them to see if there are any later openings.
And so for anyone who might be interested in subbing for us, could you outline what the procedure is for that and how that will be handled?
I'll be happy to. We are having information sessions for those subs who worked for Kelly Services last year. Just as they did when we went to Kelly in the first place, they took out all of our current subs. We are doing the same thing with background checks having been completed by Kelly Services. And actually, tomorrow we'll have the first session for those subs, the transition subs, we'll call them. And then later this summer, we'll have one, perhaps two, sessions for those interested who've not subbed for us before or or did not sub with Kelly. And we'll have a sub-training sessions, and we'll probably have to have those on a pretty regular basis here in the central office. If people are interested, they can call the main switchboard here at 765-973-3300. And Paulette or Vicki or Phyllis or I would be happy to help them
And are there specific requirements for
There are.
people who
We
sub?
We would love to have retired teachers who are interested in subbing, anyone with a teacher's license. If there is someone without a teacher's license, we do require that subs have 60 hours credit and of college credit, or take the praxis test, which is, it's what we do with our paraprofessionals. We require that paraprofessionals be highly qualified, and those criteria apply. And we even have the praxis test available to give people if they're interested in having it given here.
It's 60 hours or the praxis?
60 hours or the praxis. And the pay is $66.56 per day. And we would love to have you if you're interested in subbing.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And now we are ready for reports, discussion topics.
This is a good news type report, and you've all received in your packets information about this. But I thought I would have Mr. Coddington share with you some of the details of a follow-up piece. This is actually old business in a way, but it's good business. And Mr. Coddington, we're talking about the qualified entity purchase agreement, that those bonds have been refinanced, and what does that mean to the Richmond Community Schools?
That's good news. The Indiana Bond Bank, if we remember, we took out a bond for the pension fund in 2004. It became evident to the Indiana Bond Bank, and that was a big bond. It wasn't just our bond. It was a lot of,
Right.
and so we couldn't do anything without the bond bank agreeing to refinance all that bond. They have refinanced it. The interest rates have come down to the point that we will save $62,000, a little over $62,000 twice a year. And for the length of the pension bond that's left, that's over $750,000 in interest savings.
Wow.
And this is a good deal. And it's being prudent. State of Indiana is being prudent. The bond bank's being prudent. And the Richmond Community School Board of Trustees are being prudent to allow us to refinance this to lower the interest payments.
Now, it's not money that falls off or out of the budget, though.
That's correct. Now, remember that word levy neutrality that I've been using forever. We will save in interest payments $125,000 a year, which will allow us to get $125,000 more next year in our capital projects fund to take care of our buildings. 6 years earlier than, so it should be that our levy neutrality will go from 1,800,000 to 1,675,000, somewhere in that ballpark. So this takes some relief off of the needs of the capital projects
Yeah.
fund.
Well, you can continue bringing that kind of good news to us.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Just
Jeff?
one question. Now, we had a shortfall on the last payment because of the percentage of tax that we collected, so are we still gonna have that? Didn't,
We have asked for a level savings, not the, we will still continue to have a shortfall because of, we're not collecting 100% of our taxes.
right, so it was almost one full payment, wasn't it, that we were gonna be short, which was almost 700,000?
Correct.
So,
And we ask for that to be made up this year in the property taxes, and that's why that it increased our pension bond tax by 2 cents, which in turn reduced our capital projects tax by 2 cents. So by getting that money back in there, next year, you're following the ball very well. We should be able to get $125,000 more in capital projects for this, and our 2 cents back in capital projects for about $250,000, to the tune then of about $375,000 more relief for our capital projects fund, which will allow us, as we've put, and Dr. Borf and I have already met late last week, to talk about what will our CPF plan look like that I'll be bringing to the board in July.
Well, you put the numbers so quickly together. I guess I just want to make sure that, because 2019 is the final payment.
Final payment as it always was.
So in 2019, you're going to have the capital projects fund adjusted. It'll be reduced to make the final payment.
It'll be reduced starting with our July payment.
Okay.
It will be reduced in every payment thereof. If we waited until 2019 for the final payment,
We wouldn't have the money.
we don't know what our assessed value is.
Right,
We're
right.
we're doing this, and we're letting them hold the money. for the
Well, I
next
just want to make sure that we're not 7 years from, or actually 6 years from now saying, whoops.
Well, maybe we start collecting 85, 90, 91% of our taxes, and we could be very well back there. But with the change of the law that says that circuit breaker, which plays into effect on this, is no longer prudent in your debt service or pension bond issue, it's got to be funded 100%, where the last 2 years it's been funded at about 89% because circuit breaker was part of that. The pension bond should be funded at 97, 98%, our usual and customary tax rate collection.
So it shouldn't be as bad then.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Coddington. Now we're ready for our consent items.
The consent items tonight consist of an approval request for the May 22nd, 2013 board meeting and executive session, and the June 5th board meeting, or board retreat. Recommendation from Human Resources, recommendation, and an addendum with that as well that's been posted to the web. Recommendation for textbook fees as posted. Recommendation from Civic Hall for a Wayne County Foundation grant. Recommendation to approve an alternative education grant that's been posted. A cosmetology agreement also posted, and approval for filing of reports relative to student handbooks. These would be also posted.
Okay, do I have a motion for the consent items?
So moved.
Motion made by Aaron Stevens, seconded by Jeff Slifer. Comments, questions?
It's a movement.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And now we're ready for our work session.
And the work session is a follow-up to a board retreat that took place concerning the future of the Richmond Community Schools. It followed up a few work sessions dedicated to that same purpose. So tonight, the board comes together to talk about the next step.
You know, it was interesting today, we had the privilege of hearing State Superintendent Glenda Ritz talk about some of her hopes and dreams and initiatives. And as I was listening to her, it sounded as though she'd been listening into many of our meetings, because she too is working on, feels that the culture and climate is very important. And she outlined the technology as something that we would all be looking to implement in some way in our school systems, that she feels that we certainly need to be heading in that direction. So with that said, I guess we need to begin to formulate how we want what we have discussed to this point, how we want the next steps to be, and how we want to incorporate that into our strategic plan. So, thoughts? And maybe we should look to you, Dr. Borf, to get us started. Maybe you have some thoughts about?
I do have some guiding questions, I think. As we're looking at our strategic plan, we're wanting to make sure that that strategic plan is not abandoned. We've stressed to the staff that we're not going to stray off course. We're going to provide forward momentum as much as we can to realize the mission that has been, the mission and the vision that have been articulated yet here tonight. So, but we've also talked about some big issues in retreat and in the work sessions. One of the questions, one of the comments from our parents that we heard loud and clear was, can we look at balancing our focus that we have for years now put on testing and measurement? Can we balance that with, for lack of a better term, just the joy of learning? Teachers have asked the same thing. So I think the challenge that the board has, and I would be willing to work with the board in crafting a document that reflects this, but the challenge the board has is, how do you take our strategic plan that we now have, and because so much of that is an answer to state and federal mandates, how do you do that strategic plan so that you have an overarching theme of dedication to the joy of teaching and learning, and then a couple other pieces that you had in your conversation, which had to do with pathways in the system, articulating pathways, and also clarify what we're doing with technology.
Yeah.
Well, it strikes me that what we are talking about is I don't think joy of learning is lack of better word. That is what we were saying. And it is the philosophy and the attitude that we want to do all of the things that are in the strategic plan. So doesn't that mean we articulate a statement that says just what you said, that we believe in balancing? We understand the need, but we believe that we want to lead with the joy of learning, and that is our approach. And I thought as we came away from our retreat, that what we're trying to say is publicly we want to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge it and lead with that philosophy, not lead with the documentation of the numbers. And for me, I think that begins at this board table by saying that and capturing what we wanted to say in a statement that becomes our lead. It becomes the lead in the web, it becomes the lead everywhere else. We are not abandoning the need for success in the classroom. We're not. We're just talking about how and the attitude and the philosophy we want to approach that. Correct? I mean,
That's right.
am I mistaken about that?
They're not mutually exclusive.
They are not mutually exclusive, but from the board table, we have to let folks know that it's okay.
And we do need to let them know through
A statement of some sort.
sort of defining
Exactly.
exactly what we mean, because it will mean different things to different people. And I think that we need to make a pretty bold statement.
I think our challenge is, what does that look like? How would the joy of learning manifest itself in everyday living and everyday work within our classrooms? That's the challenge that we need to talk to classroom teachers and parents about, some very specific things.
Yeah, are there different,
Well, and, yeah.
are there different types of classroom arrangements? Are there different things that, what can we do to promote?
That's exactly right. How does it manifest itself?
Well,
Dixie?
when we were talking about those three areas of climate and culture and pathways and technology, I was envisioning the mission, the vision, and the strategic plan being accomplished through
Exactly.
the emphasis on
Yes.
those three things.
Oh, emphasis, that's a great word, Dixie.
So, or priority, emphasis.
No, I think emphasis is a great word.
Yeah, that's the way I was seeing it.
And so in order to make that happen, what is it that we, as a board, need to do in order to give guidance to
Right.
our superintendent and administration, and so that it,
Well, I think we did the first thing. We said we want it.
And you know what? I'm not so sure you need to say too much more at this point, because what I would like to do, we have a new leadership coming in with the REA. And what I would like to do is invite them to join us in
That's a
in
great
working
first step.
through some of this, and maybe even as early as the next meeting, if I can work that out, we might be willing or able to bring you a draft of what an emphasis on in those three areas would mean under or within our strategic plan. I don't think that's out of the question.
Yeah.
Well, we also said we couldn't do them all at once,
That's right.
that we were sort of starting with culture and climate. But like I said, the emphasis on that one thing, how you achieve, how you would go about achieving all the others.
I would also, though, like to suggest that, we had some very articulate parents who were with us in those meetings. And they had very clear ideas about what that would look like and how to make that statement. So I'm not so sure, teachers are important, but I'm thinking the parents, there are a few parents who probably in one evening could articulate that in a way that we could use as well.
Would you like for them to join you at the next session? I think in my in the first draft, I would like to work with the REA
I think that makes sense.
and teachers and
Because we have some really good feedback from those parents already about family atmosphere. And a lot of it was, the words they were using match very closely with 21st century skills, which we
Correct.
talk about a lot also, which is working in groups and engaged learning and all those kinds of things. So I think I'm really happy about the idea of working with the REA. I think that's great, especially since there is new leadership starting now. The timing is perfect.
it would be a good first step for us
I think so
to
too.
work towards your goal. We would like to see something in place for the beginning of school to start guiding the staff
Absolutely.
Right.
to carry out your goals. I think Jeff has something.
okay, Jeff?
Well, I guess when you look at the three categories, I'm more 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 3. But
Whoops.
I guess technology. What does that mean? What does that mean? Has a different term for you, different term for you, different term for me, different term for the student, the parent, the teacher. It may not be the same across all three grade levels, or sections, I should say. Primary.
That's right.
So I guess, I guess a little better understanding of, okay, we need technology, but what do we need? What does, I'm
Well-
not like one-to-one is a term that we hear a lot of in the last couple of years. I mean, everybody's talking one-to-one. But I don't know, to me, I don't think technology necessarily means that we give everybody an iPad and our problems go away.
Well, and again, it is, how do you promote the joy of learning using technology to accomplish our mission and vision? I mean, that,
Well, but
not just at one-to-one because we want one-to-one, but what will help us get
how
where
can
we
it be
need
the
to
means
go?
to the end, not
Yes.
the end in itself? And,
Yes.
and so when you talk technology separately, then it becomes the end in itself and not the means. And the pathway for the public, as we were talking about, we were trying to articulate specifically what happens in each of the units of our students' journey. Pre-K 4, 5, 8, and 9, 12.
What will a student know and be able to do by the time they leave
Exactly.
4th grade and go to 5th grade? And then what happens in 5 through 8? And what will their choices be in 5 through 8? What will their choices be in 9 through 12? Some parts of that are very much about marketing in a way.
It's
because
exactly right.
It's about packaging what it is that we do and what their options are as their student moves through our different segments of school. Because I don't know that we've done a really great job of
Correct.
communicating. If we have a very creative student, what will their options be? What will they be able to do? And we have a lot to offer. We just need to do a really good job of
And
packaging.
I would hate to leave that articulation until we finish everything else. I think the joy of learning in terms of the culture is extremely important. But packaging this, in some ways, that's what we're asking. Keep going back to the flower pot. Remember the infamous flower pot with all
We're
of
trying
those?
not to.
Never forget it.
Well,
At the city council meeting, yes, I'll never forget it.
well, but the point is, that was one of the first steps to try to identify what we offer students. This is a way to package that. Then the technology question comes in. Okay, if this is what we're wanting students to accomplish, I'm going to slap him over the ears. It was that extra piece of chocolate I had before. Then what and how can technology
And which
help that?
tools are best
Exactly.
in each of those pieces. And we've talked about this, Jeff. I know you went to some sessions where, because iPads keep coming up. But what we heard over and over, well, maybe iPads aren't the best thing for the upper grades, but they really work really well in the lower grades. So then we need to make those, talk about that with REA and teachers and say, what are the tools that would help us get where we want to go? And are they different in every section?
Well, I think that throughout our conversations about technology, that we all agree that it has to start with our teachers, and because it's important that they have buy-in to whatever we do, and that it needs to be integrated, obviously, with our curriculum. I mean, that, you know, we've all said that. But I guess my concern also is because we know that that the dollars just aren't going to fall out of the sky for technology. And so we have to also figure out how we're going to fund any kind of a technology initiative. And so obviously we're going to have to give our experts in that area time to be thinking about that. And, you know, I think that at some point, we as a board have to make some kind of a decision about, you know, whether we want to begin exploring a technology initiative and how it's going to be financed.
But I think in our planning, I think we want to explore a technology initiative. I don't think this was saying, no, we're not going to do that.
That's why I'm struggling with we can't do it all at the same time, because I think
Right.
they're so all intertwined. I'm not sure how you don't
Well,
do
I
it all
think,
at the same
I
time.
think you have to dig deeper in your curriculum to figure out how technology is going to help you achieve the goals
I think that's
that you've
exactly
set.
right. Yeah.
And also look at 21st century skills and how is technology going to help us get there? Not just technology for technology's sake, but how is it going to help us do what we need to do?
So,
What pieces of it?
once we have the conversation with the REA, then maybe that will be just a next step, a natural next step, do you think?
Well, I don't, what I looked for, what I will probably be bringing back, my guess is, more like a roadmap for the next year rather than a product to say we want adopted. We even heard today in one of our sessions, in conversations with an administrator or teacher from South Bend, they're looking at some of the same questions we're looking at and coming up with some of the same challenges. And where they seem to be, and I think that that's where we'll end up too, is instead of saying we want this technology, they're looking at a curriculum piece that engages kids. How do you, we have more rigorous curriculum. We have the nice buildings, we have the organization, but how do you motivate kids to want to move to the next level? Well, if you identify, and we talked about this in the Race to the Top grant that we wrote, a problems-based or projects-based
Projects-based,
approach to curriculum, to teaching, and you know, that's not a simple thing to put in place on a daily basis in every classroom. It sounds like it is, but when you're trying to do everything else that we ask them to do in curricular content, an approach like problem-based or project-based is not all that simple, but it meshes beautifully with the 21st century skills. It also meshes beautifully with the idea of joy of learning,
Engagement, right.
and technology can enhance that approach too. But what we're going to have to talk about with the REA is whether that line of thinking is reasonable and how that can be articulated in the course of the next year. You don't get the project-based approach and technology and everything set to go for the beginning of the school year.
Right.
Where does the flipped
Right.
classrooms fall into that? Is
That could be very well a part of that.
but that wouldn't fall under project-based, that would just be a different.
Could.
It very well
Could.
could. But it
It's
wouldn't,
always
it
gonna be
wouldn't have to,
lecture.
though. You're right, it wouldn't have to.
Well,
That's just an approach to lecture and teaching of content.
but if you talk with the REA about this philosophy and attitude and we adopt it, then it becomes part of the RISE model, part of the expectation, correct? Or can it? Because if,
Could be.
I mean, if we're serious about this, we have to expect it and we have to honor it. And so that would seem to be a natural progression. I mean, wouldn't it? I mean, the expectation is that this is the way we are
The
delivering
only
education?
piece that I hesitate to say yes about is it would become a part of a teacher evaluation, principal evaluation, superintendent
Right.
evaluation tool, whether that's the RISE or not.
Oh, okay, I stand corrected, and I'm happy to stand corrected if possibly we get rid of the RISE, but if we believe in it, then it has to be part of the
That's right.
expectation, and that's the way folks
Sure.
are evaluated.
Rob, as the technology person, do you have anything that you would like to?
Sure, I think one of the big things is, it goes back to what Jeff, we've talked about at our tech committees, which have several teachers on there, is that culture, that change of going from a traditional textbook environment to a digital platform. And there's some fear there, but we've also seen some successes out there right now.
Much so.
I'm thinking of Brandon Hilbert's lab. I'm thinking of Dean Knapp's lab. We had a few students here, and that's the problem-based learning that we talk about. They don't have a mobile device they take home, but every day that they're in the classroom, they have a one-to-one with their CAD devices. Heidi Histrich with her STEM biomed, that's one-to-one where those students always have a laptop with them to solve the problems that she initiates with them. We're seeing some pilots over at Vail with some iPad mobile devices, Fairview. So we've got some areas that we can look at to see what's working, what maybe not working, or what we can enhance. But there is a culture that we have to recognize and maybe change or help promote to get them over that hurdle of it's no longer just a textbook environment. It's that problem-based, it's that project-based, it's what's best for that student learning at that particular time. And Jeff brought up a couple devices once, and it's really not the device, it's really what's best for that situation. So maybe an iPad's best for a K through 2, maybe a laptop is best for a high school student. So, and that's what talking with the teachers and with other people out there that have gone this way, that's the best approach, I think, is to see what's working out there for 90 to 95% of the time. So, but I think having that device, what we've seen with the early college kids that have an iPad, they see a different learning process. They enjoy using the device for maybe some recreational uses, but when it comes down to the student work, the teacher can throw out a problem right there in class and say, hey, look this up, this side of the classroom, you guys debate this one side, you debate this. They're comfortable with the device, that they don't have to learn how to use that, they're already there, so.
So what we just heard is that we can't separate, and as a matter of fact, part of the joy of learning, as we define it through engagement, we are going to support technology as a means to that engagement. Now, we don't have to say how yet, but that really does need to be in the statement or the philosophy, doesn't it?
Well, and I also think too, part of it's broadening your horizon about what technology is.
Correct.
Because it's not just iPads and computers.
Right.
It's used in a myriad of ways with other things, so,
This just gets you access
right.
and that connection, you know. Everything else out there, today they talked about having maybe a forum for teachers and people to connect, kind of a Hoosier connection, using Web 2.0 facilities. And that's kind of what we're talking about, is how that student can use something to get that connection with
Yeah.
other students and teachers, so.
Aaron?
Which again is why it's so important as we talk with teachers, but also get those parents and the students involved to get their definition of what technology is, so we can also understand, you know, their different technological needs or their perceptions of technology, how we can marry that in and make sure that as we really incorporate technology into what we've done, that we know that we have included everyone's needs in there. You know, it may
I
be
agree.
a laptop, it may be.
Whatever's best for that
Yeah.
situation. I mean, that's.
Well, I think it needs to include a pretty comprehensive professional development plan.
Correct.
Oh, of course.
I mean, some kind
Well, it
of,
all will.
some kind of, you know, here's our expectations, here's what we would like, and go as far as making sure that we put our staff at that minimum level that we establish as well, so.
That
I
may
mean-
be where a waiver request will
Yeah.
come into the state.
Well, and the other thing I would like for us not to lose sight of is that technology may not be the joy of learning venue for everyone. I hope we.
Not at the beginning, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I hope we still look at if we do go to more project-based learning, that we're looking at art and music and the multiple intelligences and other venues. Technology's just one of those.
Right.
So-
Well, and Dixie, you bring up a good point. You're talking specifically about technology, but joy is the word, I think,
Right.
along with technology, that needs to be defined.
Mhm.
Because we all have our own versions
Yes.
of what joy
Right.
is, and some people equate that with fun.
Mhm.
Might be fun sometimes, and it may not be fun
Yeah.
You
sometimes.
still have to learn your
I
multiplication
think
tables.
we're talking engaged
I think so
learners.
too, yeah.
Engaged, yeah, I think that's. a good
But the
point.
family atmosphere, I think in our work sessions, we have words that describe and define what folks meant by joy of learning.
And technology.
And
We defined
technology,
that
yeah,
one
I think
right
so
as
too.
well.
So
I
we
haven't-
need
I
to
haven't-
do some revisiting.
If I
Yeah.
could make a comment to that, when we passed out the iPads to the early college students, one of the 8th grade students' parents stopped me at church and said, so-and-so is using it to FaceTime, which is a kind of a Skype, and said, with her boyfriend or somebody else, kind of a recreational use at home. I said, well, you can take it away and leave it, so she can come back to it for home or whatever. He said, okay. A few months later, he stopped me and said, hey, that FaceTime thing. I said, hey, you can take it away if you want to. He said, no, what she's doing now is with a friend, she's practicing her cello or some other instrument. Why the two can't get together, they're practicing their orchestra stuff using FaceTime. So there they've taken this skill that they learned, kind of, they learned it using it for entertainment, now using it for real stuff.
That's a
if you
joy
will.
of
So-
learning.
And that's the
That is.
24/7 learning.
Yeah.
It's a 24/7,
right,
that's
so
gen,
they
you
could
like
meet
not
up
defining it by
face-to-face,
generation.
So,
Right.
yeah, so.
So, I understand that our next step then will be to engage in conversation with REA. And we also identified that we need to define what we mean by joy of learning at some point. And so we're going to take this,
We'll report at the next meeting where we are on this.
okay? Is that satisfactory with everybody? Okay. I know that this conversation has been going on for some time, and so it may be kind of difficult to follow our conversation, but we have had work sessions where parents, community members, teachers have been involved, and the board has had a couple retreats so that we could kind of zero in on some things also, and so it's just this is going to be a continuing conversation. So we'll look forward to you coming to the next meeting.
Sure.
Linda, one last
Yes.
comment. I recall at our last session with parents want to know that their input has been valued and used. And so I'm trusting that while we won't have all of the means of doing this by the time school starts, I think we need to have a statement that shows up in places that really does show to folks, we did listen and we took seriously what they said.
I think if they watch, they're going to see this. They'll see it.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because Glenda Ritz is having some of these same conversations with groups of people.
Good.
And I think she's already had one, and has two more, she's calling them educational summits. And she has two more scheduled.
So maybe the pendulum is swinging,
That was a term I used today.
you think?
So, anyway, that was good to hear. Okay, we are ready for follow-up old business. Anybody have?
Yeah.
Pat?
Linda, I do. And this probably is for Dr. Borf. In the last update, you mentioned that the state charter board had assigned a consultant or somebody to the Casey STEM Academy to help close it and get us the names of the students who may be coming to us this fall. What does that mean? What is the status? Where are we? Because, you know, the first of school is looming.
Well, what it has meant is that the STEM Academy has given us addresses and descriptions of the students who live in those addresses, but they've not given us the names. Their purpose in not giving us those names is to protect them in the event that through some kind of additional effort to continue, they're successful. And they don't want us marketing or in contacting those students. And there may be some FERPA issues as well to consider. But we have contacted each of those addresses. We have sent a postcard saying that a seat is available, and we're looking forward to working with them as we are. And we would like for all the parents of the KC STEM students to know, Academy students to know, that we're excited at the prospects of having them with us. They are Richmond community kids. Though they haven't been in the Richmond community schools, they are Richmond community students, and we're looking forward to working with them again. We're a little frustrated, I would admit, we're a little frustrated that we don't know who they are yet, because we would like to access their records and begin to plan their school year with them.
Sure.
If they need to have special programming, we want to identify those special programming needs. Just like our students, there's the full spectrum of services that we offer that would be available to them, and we would hope that they could access those. And for those parents, we would encourage the parents to think very carefully about the timing of their admission to the Richmond Community School so that we can give the most time this summer to them. We've even talked about what special services we could give them for orientation prior to the beginning of school. We work with our 5th graders and our 9th graders. We're prepared to work with each and every one of the STEM Academy students to give them the very best leg up on a good year for next year. So
Would it be inappropriate for us to have a roundup, a couple nights where we announce to the public and advertise?
open house or
Like an
something.
open house, that, you know, please come.
I think that might be a great idea.
Enrollment event or something, give them the opportunity to.
We'll give that, I do think that's a great idea.
Because I think as a parent, you know, I'm thinking in placing my students in the school building, I would think I'd want to know ahead of time, where are they going to go?
Right.
What
Right.
building they're going to be in? What, you know, is that class full? Do we have a class enrollment issue that we have
Right.
to deal with? So maybe we need to do a loud screen and have a couple roundup nights.
Yeah, when we were talking to Ball State about the process that you go through to transition these students from where they are now to where they will be with us, that kind of evening or event was requested, and we said that we would gladly do something like that. But given the fact that they aren't planning to give us any information about what position they're taking until June 30th, maybe what you're saying, just an all-call and voluntary, might not be in everyone's best interest.
Beat the rush. Help us, help you. you know.
Well, and there may be other new students, people moving to town, not just the KC STEM
Sure.
students. I mean, there may be other folks who are thinking, it is now time. I mean, with our stellar success from last year and all of the things that we've been doing and all of the programs, I mean, there are people who may want to say, hey, I want to try Richmond Community Schools, but I don't want to wait until
Right.
the last. I mean,
So would you do it like an open house at each of the elementaries type?
I'm not so sure that we would do an open house at every elementary, but we would certainly have an information session for them, at least in one of our buildings.
Sure.
And maybe we will advertise to them specifically, market to them specifically our end-of-the-year breakfast, where we talk about what the school system has to offer.
That'd be a great
Yeah.
idea.
Or,
that would
or make
be-
it neutral, make it like the Draper building at the fairgrounds or something.
I don't,
I mean, I don't.
But
That would be an opportunity, a great opportunity for us to sell the successes that we have had, and to get them, you know, up to speed as to what Richmond Community Schools has to offer. Because unfortunately, if you're saying that the information that we've been asking for, we may not receive until June the 30th, again,
If I
you
was a
know.
parent, I wouldn't want to wait that long.
No, I wouldn't either, and you're talking now, you know, just a little less than 5 weeks, you know, before school, you know, starts again, and if they're coming to us, there are some things that we have to offer them that maybe, you know, that 5 weeks may not be enough time for them to be called up on, and that has always been my concern. Let's get this information as quickly as we can so we can offer the best opportunities for those students and those families prior to the beginning of school.
Well, I certainly think the most important message is that we welcome the students and the parents, and we want to partner with them, and we want to ensure that their children have the best possible experience.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a great idea to have an open house and to welcome them and to give them an opportunity to sign up or at least learn about us.
Well,
Ask
and
the
given
questions
the
they have.
current climate of public education, where students have the choice to go a number of places, this isn't just for KC STEM.
Correct.
It's for any kid who is in any other school system to learn what we have, because we do have amazing programs right now for all students. And so y'all come. I mean, we welcome
Agree.
new students.
I would just like to say that we did receive an email this morning from the consultant, and one of the tasks on the school closing list for KC STEM Academy is they will plan and host a school choice fair at which we would be.
Who's they plan?
The consultant
Oh, okay.
would plan and host a school choice fair. I think she calls it School Choice Fair is what she calls it. And she had originally hoped to do that in June, but now she's saying it will be late June, early July before we're able to do that. But we will be there, and other schools that would be enrolling students would be there, so we would be there sort of pitching ourselves.
But I don't think we should wait.
Yeah, I don't either. Why
I
not?
mean, we could do that too, but
Yeah, why not?
Do we have to follow specifically what the consultant is suggesting, or?
Well, we definitely would want to participate in this, but
Absolutely.
that doesn't bar us from doing something ahead of
Absolutely.
schedule. I mean, we've already sent the postcards, so.
yeah. Well, as you said, Pat, there's others too. I mean, there's other kids out there that
I mean, I think
Learn
about the programs being offered at Hibbard, I think about the early, I mean, I just think about all the
AP
things we've.
classes, all
Oh,
of things.
yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And they have no control over us. The charter board doesn't have any control over us, do they?
No, nor over the parents.
Exactly.
Right.
And the parents are already choosing to enroll their students, their children here in the Richmond Community Schools. We've seen a few come our way, more than just a few. And obviously, there have been quite a few who have made the determination to exit the STEM Academy because
Their
the
numbers are
Palladium
low.
item reported 230-some students, and we received 174 addresses.
Right.
So obviously, there have been a number of people opt to make that decision to go elsewhere.
So let's just go after it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, just, like I said, I wouldn't want to wait if I was a parent. I want, the unknown is the uncomfortable place, so I think we need to be proactive for them and let them know
And we
what
need
we've
to-
got.
We need to help them think ahead of time, because if not, then
Agreed.
we're gonna have 100 parents all
Agreed.
at the day
Agreed.
before school saying,
Yeah.
we need this.
And we want to give, the bottom line is, we want to give those kids the best experience we can give them. And so time
Sooner
helps us.
than later is
Time
better.
helps us do
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Dr. Borf, as a reminder, we've had a pre-enrollment form online the last 3 weeks. We've seen some students take advantage of that already, so it's not the live version, but, you know, where they're in live, which we
So
should do.
talk
but
about that more specifically. They go to
they just go to
wearerichmond.com.
wearerichmond.com front page and click on the pre-enrollment form, and that gets us in the database, and then they'll be part of our online registration process.
That's great.
At the end of July,
So if they're watching, that could get that
Correct.
process
Right.
started.
But we definitely want to market other ways to
Good.
get those people in.
Good.
Yeah. And that's been out there about 3 weeks now, maybe 4, so. And Dr. Parker's been watching that, and Misty, our people, so.
Thank you.
Okay, great discussion. We are now ready for public commentary. Do we have anyone from the public wishing to speak? Okay. You know, I don't have, I guess we need to have our celebrations
Yeah, it's not on the
and
agenda, but
superintendent reports.
Well, I will just tell you, we don't need to call Ron to the podium, but Ron Mace has been responsible for a lot of commotion around here
Indeed.
these
Oh,
past
is
few
he
days.
tearing up stuff again?
He is really wreaking
In
havoc
my
around
neighborhood.
here. Ron, you want to come up and give them just a brief update on where we are right now?
Talk about the bleachers.
If you've driven by the football field lately, you can see that all the bleachers are apart, and they're now stacked in the outfield of the baseball diamond, and they're cleaning them off, scraping the rust off of them and painting them. And we hope to put those back in place, the visitor side on June the 30th, and then on the home side on July the 8th. And then the sod, as you can see, that we have all the grass off, the dirt's off. We're starting to put the drainage system in, and in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, they'll start putting the artificial grass in.
Oh, cool.
So that's some big changes there. At Hibbard, if you drive by Hibbard tomorrow, they tell me, because they've been promising me every day, but they're supposed to start moving dirt there, and that they're getting ready to start, hopefully next week, putting sidewalks and curbs in that location.
Very cool. That'll look
And
good.
then Dixie at Dennis, they're putting in
saw
they're putting
She
in the bus
reported.
drive, and boy, we're well on our way at Dennis. In fact, we've started putting in drywall already, and that next week they're on the second floor going to start doing some painting. So we're moving fast on all those projects. And Charles, which we're doing ourselves, we're way ahead there. We've got the demolition done, the floors are cut, putting plumbing in, electrical's coming in tomorrow, and so that's going to be ready. So we do have several buildings that we're working in.
Now, I want to tell you that we've discovered some interesting things at Dennis. You know, Dennis is one of our oldest buildings.
Sure.
And we discovered in the demolition, in cutting through a wall in the front hall, there's an old archway.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
it's brick archway. We are going to preserve that arch. And,
Good.
the other thing that we've discovered is that in some of the ceilings, in some of the classrooms, there were originally skylights.
Oh, my.
They've been
Wow.
they've been filled in, of course, over the years, but we have discovered that. Not that we're planning to put skylights in, but it's an interesting feature to a building that was built in what was it 23?
1920.
1920.
Wow.
That is
Yeah, it
interesting.
is.
Yeah.
Especially since we have talked about Dennis being kind of the darker,
Yeah.
like the
Well-
darkness. The skylights might have changed that, huh?
You know, Dr. Borf went over there a week ago, and when we had the ceilings torn out, expected to see some real nice moldings and trims and things above the ceiling. Unfortunately, they're gone.
It's gone.
The last demolition in the 80s, they must have taken all that out.
That
But
is bad.
like you said, we're going to keep that arch. I mean,
That's
we
very
studied and looked at that and said, there are no other arches in the
That
building,
was
but we're going to have that
gone.
arch right there.
That's okay.
That's great. I know, I thought it was gone. But I will say the skylights were very leaky.
There, Dixie, at one point, do you remember the skylights?
No, I remember them in other buildings that we
Test,
had.
Test
had one.
Yes, they
all
had.
kinds of skylights that
But
leaked
the-
all the time.
But there was a
yes.
problem with
Yes.
leaks.
Do you think that you could arrange for us to have a board meeting on the new AstroTurf?
Absolutely.
Field turf, don't call it AstroTurf,
Oh,
because
and
then
I-
people think about the old.
And
Yeah,
I
it-
did want to say thanks for saving those beautiful pine trees. over
Yes.
At Dennis, yeah.
I was afraid they were going to be torn down.
But you know, it's amazing the number of calls and on the computer, people wanting pieces of grass to put in the front
Or the
yard from the
bleachers.
football field.
The
It-
concrete
bleachers.
There's so
bleachers.
much interest, there's so much interest about wanting pieces of concrete from the bleachers and oh, why did you do it? And somebody will say, oh, I'm glad you did it. And I mean, there's a lot of talk about.
So
about
are we
football.
recouping our expenses by selling the sod and concrete bleachers?
There were lots of memories coming over the social media.
Uh-huh.
People were talking about, oh, I spent so many
Uh-huh.
band days there, and football players, and that was
Sitting on
very,
those
very cool.
cold concrete.
I know, but it's funny, as much as people complain, and as slippery, I mean, those things are slippery when wet, but when they started to go down.
Yeah.
And I will say, I watched the thing go through the side, and they were struggling kind of to get through the
Oh, yeah,
side. But
right.
when they went through the seats, those things
Right
look like
through.
paper mache, so clearly they needed to come down.
Well, and I think that's the other thing because there's so much talk out there about why are you doing this and why are you doing this, that the drive at Dennis, the new driveway, and the concrete bleachers, all of it is for the safety
Right.
of our
right.
students.
Well, those bleachers are
The
1930.
concrete does deteriorate after a while.
Yeah.
Well, if you drive under some old bridges that you see the rebar showing, that's exactly what we had under the bleachers, and people didn't see that part of it.
Right.
But
Sure.
it would have taken thousands of dollars to bring that back up to usable condition.
And the field itself, the turf itself, is going to make that more usable, other than 10 evenings a year, right?
Chad's got all kinds of soccer games.
I know.
Gym
Soccer
class.
teams have to be
It's going to
excited
be
about
used 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm. And I think that point needs to be made for lots of folks who say, what an extravagance. I mean, it really is per use going to be.
If you look at other high schools and look at their space around their building, they have all kinds of open space for athletics, gym classes, and we're limited in what we have. So we have to take advantage, and this is a big advantage of being able to do that.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty
the-
exciting.
The multi-use. But I would like to say too that we are on schedule on everything.
Good.
Cool.
And that everything is scheduled to be completed August 2nd.
August 2nd.
Ron, that's growing to be an expectation from you, that schedule.
Or ahead of schedule.
Or ahead
Ahead
of
of schedule,
schedule.
yes,
That seems
yes.
to be the way you operate, so,
And we appreciate
thank you very much.
Except for the sprinkler system, it's not gonna be done.
But the
You know,
term is January
talking
1.
about the sprinkler system, just a second, is that they're gonna have to do that on third shift.
Yeah.
And it's still gonna be less expensive than doing it the way we wanted to do it, which was 3 shifts to be done by August the 19th. Now being done by, we'll see an advantage of cost savings there, and that they've indicated there would be little or no extra cost for third shift work. So that's
nice.
why we did it.
That is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to say this is our first board meeting since commencement.
Oh, my
I'd like
goodness.
to congratulate all the students who went through commencement. But I want to specifically note Henry Dickman.
Yes.
I think it's too bad that that we didn't find more teachers in the audience that day, because they could not have had
Yeah.
a more heartfelt testimonial to their significance in the lives of students than Henry gave them.
Yes.
His speech, bar none, was the best student commencement address I've heard in my years. And I'm just thrilled and proud to say
It
he
was
was
better
ours.
than a number of professional
I
commencement
agree.
speakers I've been to.
That's what I said. I've
too.
heard lots of
Didn't
adult.
look at his notes very much.
I
I mean,
know.
it was very
Is it
clever,
taped?
genuinely.
Was it taped?
Yes.
Yes.
And so is it playing on WCTV?
Yes.
Which means then you can stream it, correct?
This week it starts.
He also buy it. He sells them.
Oh, you can.
It's great.
Missy just said you could also buy it.
Yeah, you can buy the commencement.
Oh.
I wanted to say too, just along those lines with his speech, just the end results, and I'm talking end of the year concerts and choir concerts and academic things, everything that happened. I was so proud of Richmond students, Richmond teachers, Richmond staff, administrators. I thought it was just amazing what our kids accomplished this year after what they went through at the beginning of the year. And for them to be able to turn out what they turned out at the end of the year like they did, it's just a great big commendation to all the students and the teachers and the administrators, everybody.
Parents and
It was a phenomenal job.
Here, here.
Could you update us a little bit on what's going on with summer school? Third grade academies in session and our own summer school?
Mr. Millis can give you some background on both questions.
All are rolling very well. I think third grade academy, we just had, I think, a great start, and all the sites are going. Next week, we plan to visit all those sites, and Mrs. Phillips has given us great reports on how things are going. Our own summer school, again, we have over 200 students this year. Teachers wrote design courses, and I visited there yesterday, and I saw some neat things going on. So, and Mrs. Quinn and Mrs. O'Brien are the administrators, and they are very complimentary of the students. And other than the first couple days, just kind of tracking down some kids that didn't, show up, know the bus pickups. After that, that's gone very well.
And when is are we partnering with Earlham for our intermediate
Yes.
kids this year?
Yes, that will come near the end of the summer prior to school.
How many third graders did we end up with? Because I know many of them passed.
I think 102.
Dr. Parker probably give you
Yeah,
better.
I think 102 was the final number enrolled at third grade academy. 61 who need to retake the IRE 3.
Great. Wow. Okay, anything else? Then we are adjourned.